Hello everyone. So in this video, I'll be discussing important topics from the viewpoint of the exam and the internals of MME-2. Okay, so the syllabus is from chapter 12 to chapter 17. It is from chapter 12 till 17. Okay, now I'll mark the important topics. Linear algebras. Chapter 12 is linear algebra, vectors and matrices, and the chapter 12, 13 and 14 consist of 45% weightage of 90. So which is close to 40.5 marks. And these are very scoring chapters. Okay, so system of linear equations. This is important. I'll tell you in this there is Leontief model. And I'll post I'll teach you all these things in the online mode as well. So I'll be covering all this. I'll be posting the videos soon. So this Leontief model is very important, and you won't believe, every year one question is asked in the Indian Economic Services from this. A bit advanced version of what you will study here, but I'll I'll solve one or two questions of this as well, because this is important. Okay, so do this example. This is important. Now you would be able to, these things are very important. If you are able to understand what these things are, you would be able to complete your, you will be able to understand how this model works. This is the most important thing. So the technical coefficient matrix, which is being usually asked, and try to do these numericals. Now coming to 12.2 vectors. This is basic only. So they, these types of questions they won't ask, but it's good if you do it now for practice purpose. So you can just go through it. These types of questions won't be asked in the exam. You should know the rules. Okay, these are also basic questions. Okay, geometric interpretation of vectors. So basically, I don't think they will ask you for n space or 3 space. For 2D they can ask you. So just this interpretation is sufficient, or going through an example would be. So try to solve these problems. Now coming to scalar product, you should know the definition of scalar product. Okay, one of the examples could be of this type. Okay, you need to solve this example, then you can solve this as well. You should know rules for this, and this Cauchy-Squarz inequality is very important. They can ask you to derive this as well, or this is very logical. If you will see, I'll teach in the later classes. This is very logical, but you should know this inequality by sure. Because if some of the elements are positive and some are negative, so the product can be really, the scalar product can be 0 as well, although this would be always positive. So okay, we'll do this in the later class, but this is important. Now orthogonality is important. You should know this. And now we are left with lines and planes. Equation of line. These types of question you can expect. You should know this. This is the equation of a budget line only. Okay. Matrices and matrix operations. Okay, these are very basic examples. It won't be asked in the exam, these types of examples. Matrix operations, you should, I'm not saying that you are not supposed to study this. You are bound to study this, because if you are able to score, if you are able to have a good understanding of the basics, then only you would be able to do the tough questions as well, and these are the very basic questions. And जब ये हो जाएगा, but these types are for one time practice only, one time read, because these are very basic and you are not supposed to read it from an examination point of view. Okay, you should know the quotient matrix. Okay, matrix operations, you should know these rules. That's it. Matrix multiplication they can ask, that too. This is also very basic. So okay, try to do this example. Okay, I'll do this. System of equations, this is important, this is important. Okay, the rules: associative, left distributive, right distributive law. And just one example will make sure your calculations are correct. You should know the identity matrix, what exactly does it mean. And so do solve these questions, back questions, and look at this idempotent. So idempotent matrix, you should know what is an idempotent matrix, where a into a equals to a. So which means a to the power n is also equals to a, because a to the power n can be written as a to the power n minus 1 into a. And this can be further written as a minus n minus 2 a into a. So if this is a, so this becomes a into n minus 2 times a. Okay, we'll do this in the later, but the transpose, you should know these basic formulas. What a symmetric matrix is. Orthogonal matrix, when the transpose of that matrix multiplied by the matrix gives you an identity matrix of order n. Okay, so far this was very basic. And determinants, now coming to chapter 13, determinants and matrix inversion. 12th chapter was very basic. You can expect questions from Leontief paradox, Leontief input-output method, which was being used in the Soviet economy, or which is used in a command economy. Now coming to chapter 13, determinants and matrix inversion. You must have studied determinants. Okay, so you know how to find this, the determinant. This you will study about the Kramer rule. Solve this type of question. This is the Kramer's rule. We will discuss it in case of 3 variables as well, 3 variables and 3 equation. So you should know how to find with the help of Kramer's rule as well. And well, don't worry, these are very basic topics. We'll discuss this in detail in the next few videos. Determinants of order 3, you already know how to find it. We can find it by cofactors as well, the determinants. Okay, you should try this question and solve these equations. Highly unexpected that they will ask this geometric interpretation for this, so you can skip this. This is not part of your course, so even if you don't mind, you can just read this thing. That's enough. No need to go in depth, because this is not a part of your course and they won't be asking you this. Now you should know this, and this is an important rule. You should know this. Okay, then moving forward, proof of theorem 13.3 is not there in your course. This was basic only. Expansion by cofactors, this is still basic. I'll do this in class. You will find it very easy. Okay, this is you have done in school as well. The inverse of a matrix. This is the most important topic, and here we will have some other rank conditions in the next chapter, which would be related to the inverse only. do this square matrix. This is the general formulation. Now 13.3 proof is not there, but you are supposed to know this theorem. So this is important, and proof you are not supposed to go into depth of this. Again, proof of formula 13.19 is also not there. Let's see where is 13.19. Proof of formula. Okay, so proof of this formula is also not part. So this is not part of your syllabus. So you're not supposed to go into depth for this. Okay. Now inverse is important. You will see various operations. You know how to find inverse using cofactors, and in this case, you will be asked to find the inverses. Okay, solving equations by matrix inverse. General formula for the inverse you already know. This formula you must be aware of. We'll do this in the class as well. The most important thing is finding inverse by elementary row operations. So this is a new topic for you, and this is very, very important. And I'll tell you, this is very easy. If taught in the right manner, this is very easy. This is one of the easiest topic to score marks in. So, okay, this might sound difficult and all, but this is very basic. I'll solve 3 or 4 questions for you. You can find inverse of anything with the help of this, even if it is 4 cross 4, 5 cross 5, any number. I'll give you a matrix to find us all, to find the inverse. Okay, now same Kramer's rule that we have already discussed, and now this is the general Kramer's rule. We discussed for 2 equations and 2 variables. Now it can be done for n equations. So this is the Kramer rule for n equation in n unknowns. Okay, moving forward, you're supposed to do this homogeneous system of equations. You should know what exactly it is. When ax equals to 0, where a is a matrix and x are the variables. With the help of this, we will be able to do all these things. Now, moving to the most important thing in linear algebra. So the elementary row operations will do that. If you are comfortable with that, I can guarantee you out of 40.5, you would be able to score more than 30 irrespective of how difficult the paper is. Okay, linear dependence. When one variable can be expressed as a linear combination of others. And so if the variables are dependent or not. Yeah, we'll do this in depth. This equation, when they are independent, when the vectors are said to be linearly independent, and when the vectors are said to be linearly dependent. So we will do this in depth. This is important. And moving forward, okay, these are not so important. Yeah, we are supposed to do this. Okay, rank of a matrix. This is very important, and related to it, the next few sections are related to it only. So if you are able to understand the initial 2-3 chapters, so chapter 12 and 13, basically chapter 12.7 to 12.89, then chapter 30, then you will be able to understand this. This is important. The definition, minors. Okay, we'll do this as well. This theorem is important. Okay. Chapter. Okay, I'll just go to chapter 14. CH. Okay, so here now, so since we are done with this, when the vectors are linearly dependent and independent, we were supposed to do the rank, which is an important thing. Told you this theorem. This theorem is important. I'll do all the questions, don't worry, I'll take care of everything in this semester, specifically for maths. Okay, this is related to rank only, and you can expect questions coming from this. And this is very interesting. Superfluous equations, superfluous, then these theorems, degrees of freedom, the theorems related to it. These might sound some different topics, but they are very easy. You can do this. We will do this. I'll give you more examples which are not part of this book. This is important. These are important. This is important. So you need to practice it. It's just you need to practice these things. Eigenvalues is important. And expect questions coming to find the eigenvalues. And this is nothing but eigenvalue is nothing but that value of lambda for which a minus lambda I, where I is an identity matrix, times x equals to 0. So we can solve this if you know how to find inverse and all. So these might sound difficult words, but this is very basic. Okay, now moving forward, diagonalization is also part of the syllabus. And this is also easy. So once you will get to know how to find rank and inverses, so we can do all these things. It's just you need to start at the right time. Don't wait, because in some colleges the teacher is not hired, so you are not supposed to wait for that, because at the end the other colleges are working. कुछ कॉलेज में तो टीचर हायर हो गए, कोर्सेज चल रहा है, कुछ कॉलेज में टीचर हायर नहीं हुए, तो अब तक जो पेपर चेक करेगा उनको तो नहीं पता ना कि तुम्हारे कॉलेज में टीचर हायर हुआ या नहीं, तुम्हें पूरा कोर्स कराया या नहीं. सो यू हैव द टाइम राइट नाउ. अभी से कर लोगे, यू विल गेन अ लॉट ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस. वंस यू आर 1-2 महीने में आई विल ट्राई टू मेक श्योर दैट यू गेन अ लॉट ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस, दैट you would be sure of scoring good. Just so I'll try to upload all the videos on maths till February. All the, not the past years I'll do at the end, all the course videos, so that you can study whenever you want. But trust me, try to complete. So अगर कॉलेज में जितना चल रहा है, just try to make sure कि उतना तुम भी कवर कर पा रही हो, क्योंकि else बाद में वो इतना हेक्टिक हो जाता है. सो इट टेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. ओके, 14.6 इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ द सिलेबस, सो नो नीड टू स्टडी दिस. नाउ कमिंग टू चैप्टर 15, functions of several variables. Okay, you should first know what is functions of several variables. Just 2-3 examples. Okay, more than 2 variables, so it's an econometric equation. Only 1 or 2 you can just go through it. Okay, arithmetic, geometric and harmonic mean. Domain you have already studied. Now we'll study the domain for both x and y. Okay, so this was basic. Geometric representation, this can be asked. Most probably it would be a 3D image because of level curves. This is important. Okay, continuity, partial derivatives you have already studied, but with only one variable. So we'll study it with 2 variables as well. Compute the partial derivatives, del f by del x, del f by del y, keeping other factors constant. Higher order partial derivatives we can do. Then The boxes are important. This example you can do if you want. And tangent planes, this is important. Just one example. This equation and the corresponding example for it. With many variables, same logic would be applied. Young's theorem, this is very important. This is very important. You will see partial derivative in economics. So in most of your papers, some of the questions would be application based. Most of the question in fact are application based only. So do this. This is important. Do this. Do this as well. Cooperative function, you must have studied about the production functions. Okay, concept related to marginal utility. Linear model with quadratic objectives. Supposed to do this. Supposed to do this. These are very important. And econometrics, since this you have not covered, this would be in the fourth semester. So this is not part of the syllabus. Okay. So this is also basic only. Yeah. These definitions are important. We'll do this in depth. This is important. Subject to the constraint in many variables. This is not so important. Okay, you are supposed to do this. The boxes are important. Then this is important. Okay, now moving to chapter 16. So this is the last chapter that we are supposed to do. Chain rule we have already studied, so same thing, which would be applied to two variables. So we can do that. Okay, these examples are important. So if you are starting now, you have ample time to read it twice or thrice. But if you start 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month back, then you won't have sufficient time. Okay, now directional derivatives is important. Moving forward, the boxes are important. Now this is important. More general chain rule, same thing. The general case. Leibniz formulas. Leibniz formula is very important. This is very important. This would help you in MME-3 as well. Okay, now these examples are important. This is Leibniz formulas is very important. I'm telling you again. Just go there. So in chapter 10 it is okay, Leibniz formula. This is important. This is important. And if you have time, try to do these problems as well. Now 16.3. This is important. So implicit functions, now they are finding derivatives of function defined implicitly. So we can do this. Then the corresponding examples for it. I've done this type of example before as well. Then gradient is important. This is important. This is important. Theoretical considerations are not that much important. Okay, partial elasticities, we have already found elasticities. So do it for 1 or 2 question only. Elasticities of composite functions. Marginal rate of substitution you must have studied in economics, where in your micro courses. So it's the rate at which one person is willing to forego some units of a other good to consume one more of the first. Elasticity of substitution, measure the ease with which one good can be substituted for the other. Okay, do this. This is very important. These types of questions are very important. I'll give you more of these types of questions, but do these. Okay. Now, homogeneous functions of two variables. What does homogeneous function mean by now? Okay. So you will get to know what a homogeneous function means. You will find homogeneity. And then moving forward, geometric aspects of homogeneous functions. This is not so important. Okay, these types of things are important. This graph is important. So just read the explanation of it as well, because you will study these in the growth theories in the later classes. Now coming to 16.6, homogeneous and homothetic function. You should know the difference between them. Euler's theorem is important. Economic applications, you are supposed to do this and try to go solve this question for sure. Homothetic functions are important. So basically every homogeneous function is homothetic, but every homothetic function is not homogeneous. So you will get to see this. Okay, so 16.6, section 16.6 and 16.7, which is on Leibniz inequality, is not important, is not part of the course. Okay, moving forward, implicit differentiation is part of course. Implicit function theorem is not part of course. Okay, so general case, linear approximation and differentials we have already done. And so basically I'll tell you what, so in the last video I have already discussed what all things are not part of the course. Rules for differential, these are easy. System of equations, this is easy. Counting rule is important. Partial derivatives from differentials. But try to solve this because you are studying macroeconomics this time as well. Okay, so 16 point, this is not part of your course. Also, in the last video, the continuous version of, okay, so this is not part of your course. Also 16.6 and 16.7, which focus on Leibniz formula, they are not a part of your course. So 16, okay, so all these things are not part of your course. So we have discussed it, and max by February end I'll try to upload all these things so that you have ample times to study. Okay, all the best.